Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Azola Mzegandaba. I'm going to be your host for today. Welcome to Entrepreneurship to the Point. We are a platform that informs, inspires, and equips. Today, we've got a budding young entrepreneur. He goes by Wazam. He's hailing from Nigeria, and we're just going to have a good conversation with him. Good afternoon, Wazam. How are you?
Hi, Azola. Good afternoon.
Fantastic. I'm not seeing your video there. We'd love to see your face, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners are as excited as I am to see your face, hear a voice. There you go. Fantastic. We are live. We're online. It's Entrepreneurship to the Point. Please do follow our newsletter at www.entrepreneurshiptothepoint or www.ettp. We use the same social media handle on all our platforms, that being LinkedIn, Twitter, as well as Instagram. Wazam, how are you doing, my brother there?
I'm fantastic. How's your day going?
I love the energy. You know, I'm gravitating at a beautiful frequency as well. It's my birthday today.
Happy birthday again.
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I wanted to speak a little bit of pidgin, you know. I wanted to say how far, bros, you know, so that I can be able to, you know.
Not bad.
It's important, you know. Nigeria and South Africa happen to be, you know, the biggest economies in Africa, and you know, for us to be able to converse, like, you know, on a business platform and to be able to create working relationships, I think it's absolutely important for the continent. But like, yeah, today we're not speaking about that. Today we're speaking about you being a young entrepreneur. I know about your business. But yeah, like, maybe tell us about who Wazam is, where you're from, and what's your story, like, you know, just to get us started.
Okay, so I'm Nigerian. I've lived most, if not all of my life, literally, in Lagos State. I run an edtech platform. We connect learners and tutors across the country, mostly in Lagos. And now we're doing much more of that online. So connecting learners and tutors and helping them through their academic difficulties. I've been doing this since 2014. So it's been a very interesting journey so far.
Oh, no, fantastic. Like, for people who do not know, like, some of the language, like, for me, when you say ed tech, I know
Right.
You're talking about educational technology. But for the purposes of our listeners who might not know what exactly that means, please maybe tell us more about what that exactly means.
Okay, so yes, education technology. In our own case, we use a lot of technology to give feedback about the learner's progress to the parents, to recruit the tutors as well, taking them through different tests across various academic subjects, personality tests as well, and then to manage the entire learning journey for the learner to make sure it's personalized and they're able to benefit the most from it. So that's where the technology and the education comes in for us.
Okay, no, fantastic. I'm always going to play like a little bit of devil's advocate as someone who doesn't know much about what you're talking about, just to make sure that everyone is on the same wavelength. When you talk about personality tests and connecting people, who exactly are you connecting? Like, are you like an Uber for education? Is that the type of organization you'd say you are, or am I completely off the mark?
No, so you're not completely off the mark, especially in the sense that a lot of the tutoring we used to do used to happen physically in the home of the learners. So in that sense, yes, that's correct. But we also create educational content, so videos and text, PPTs, PDFs, quizzes that these students use for their learning as well. And like I've kind of hinted at now, more and more of the learning sessions are being moved to like online platforms for us. So yes, on one hand, there's the physical part of it where we're bringing these tutors and the learners together physically for the learning exchanges to happen. But then there are also the exchanges that happen purely online, and people who use our platform because they want to get updates and reports on how their learners are progressing.
Oh, wow, fantastic. So when you say how their learners are progressing, so these aren't independent learners. I'm assuming these are learners which are part of like the Nigerian syllabus. Are you looking at learners only in the high school level or primary school level and including higher education? Or like, are you looking at all those three broad spectrums of learners?
So around 80% of our learners fall between primary to secondary school.
Okay.
Let's say 70, 80.
Yeah.
So a decent number of them are in that demography. A
Mhm.
lot of times, the people who are more concerned about getting the reports for the progress of these learners are actually their parents. So when I
Okay.
say reports, yes, the learner might also look at it, but at that age, for them, they may not appreciate it as much. So for the parents, who are paying for the service, but actually not the direct beneficiaries of the service, they're very keen to know, how the learners are progressing and what exactly is happening.
Okay, no, fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. So yeah, from our side, like, or from my side, like, I just want to remind everyone who's listening in, please feel free to ask any questions. As we say, we're a platform which aims to be as interactive as possible. So I don't want to be the only one asking the questions. Wazam is here. He's ailing all the way from Nigeria, West Africa, one of my favorite places in the world. I love, love, love the food, love the spicy food. And I was having a conversation actually with a gentleman from Senegal and another one from Nigeria on a fellowship that you and I did last year. And they were basically debating who makes the best jollof rice. And we're not going to get into that right now or today. When I do visit Nigeria, I'm hoping that Wazam, you're going to have a big plate for me. I'm a big man and I love my food. Yeah, I just wanted to put that out there to all the listeners. Please, please, please do make sure that you ask questions on our platform. We've got a chat platform. If you have any question, any burning question that you feel like you just want to pose, I'll just relay that question to Wazam. And do remember, please follow us at www.ettp.co.za. We're using the same handle, ETTP or Entrepreneurship to the Point. We're also live on YouTube, currently streaming. You can find us on LinkedIn, Twitter, as well as Instagram. We have Wazam on the line. He's talking to us everything ed tech being educational technology. So Wazam, tell me, like with most small, medium enterprise businesses or small growing businesses, the main issue that makes them not successful in the first 5 years has been said to be the value proposition. So for your organization, please tell me, what is your value proposition? What value are you bringing to the market? Or basically, what problem are you solving?
Okay, so a lot of parents feel their kids are not getting enough in school. The problem of educational performance is literally an Africa-wide one, and to be honest, even beyond Africa, right? In the UK, in the United States, even where people do have access to very decent education, a lot of parents want their kids to move ahead, go further, be ahead of the pack, etc, etc, etc. So when they want that personalized help, personalized attention, they would
Yeah.
typically seek out the services of a private tutor that can help them work with the child one-on-one. So before we started prep class, predominantly what would happen is you need a tutor, you go to the child's school, you speak with the child's teacher, and if you have the misfortune of the possibility that the teacher is engaged with other students, then you start to ask family and friends, and people say, oh, the mechanic beside my house is also very good at mathematics, and the barber
Yes.
is good at English.
Mm-hmm.
And so they give you these random referrals, basically.
Yes.
Of course, in some cases, they've worked with the individual, but was there any testing done? How objective is the referral process? Even for the person who is referring the tutor, yes, maybe the tutor did very well with your particular student, but does this tutor have the generalized training to be able to adapt his knowledge and teaching skills to a student who might be significantly different from your child? So
Yes.
those kind of questions are not put into consideration. You just, all you're left to is are referrals from people you know and a few that you don't know, to be honest.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
when we started, for us, it was, we're getting you the best tutors, we're getting you experts, we're getting professionals, people we tested. We take these tutors
Fantastic.
through written tests, we take them through personality tests, we do background
Sure.
checks on them, because someone's coming to your house. You need to know where they're coming from. Who are they? Is anybody willing to stand shorty for them? Do they have any professional references and so on and so forth? So we
Yes,
would do
exactly.
that due diligence, and we would recommend to you a very, very good tutor. And then beyond just getting the tutor, we would manage the relationship. We would try to work out goals for the tutoring and make sure the tutor is working to achieve those particular goals. Because for a lot of parents, you're not going to sit down with the tutor and the child throughout the learning session. If you're going to do that, you might as well just read the stuff yourself and taught the kid.
Yes.
So a lot of times they are not receiving the service, and so there isn't as much transparency. So we work as that other layer of oversight to make sure the tutor is doing what they need to be doing. And then we also send reports, like I mentioned before, that keep the parents up to date and abreast with what is happening in the tutoring sessions.
Absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So here in the South African context, we have like what is called SAQA, which is the South African Qualifications Authority, and the NQF, which is the National Qualifications Framework. So those are people obviously who are regulators and looking at the content and ensuring that the content which is provided to learners in school, like particularly you spoke about 70 to 80% being primary to secondary. So that is a highly regulated educational content arena. So with you being a facilitator on an educational platform and bringing these tutors in, I know you said you do a due diligence and you've vetted the teachers. Are there certain requirements like for these particular like tutors to have, or can someone like myself, Azola, who is like into enterprise and supply development advisory, just tutor any learner, or is there a certain protocol that needs to be followed as part of your due diligence, which gives the learner, the parents that confidence?
So you can't tutor just any learner, but you can tutor. So to clarify that, when we started the platform, one of the things it was our motto for a while was learn anything. So we believe that everyone has some skill that they can teach to someone else. Now, if you are going to teach a skill like the saxophone or the violin or playing football and so on and so forth, you could teach that to anybody, literally. You wouldn't need any specific qualification, but you would need to show us that you do have that skill. So you take a test, and if there are any competitions you've gone for in the past, that would be extremely useful in making you a more preferred candidate for anyone who requires that skill. But basically, that's more the unregulated stuff. Now, to the regulated stuff, the Nigerian market and the South African market are different, significantly different. Here in Nigeria, the requirements for you to become a teacher are there, but they're not necessarily as strictly followed even by schools. So you can have someone who has a BSc and the person can work in a school as a teacher, even though we do have the NTI, which is the National Teachers Institute, which trains teachers. Or if someone comes out with a BEd, which is Bachelor's in Education, so yes, that person can also work as a teacher. But essentially, it's not as strictly regulated that only qualified people can work in schools. What we typically do is we only work with people who have worked as teachers to teach kids. So we realize that, the regulations here allow for people who have not necessarily been trained academically, so to speak, to become teachers. They would do on-site trainings in schools, they would attend training centers here or there, but their qualification, their certificate may not necessarily read, some teacher training academy or that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So we know the regulation allows for that, but also to lend that credence, especially for parents who want to get a teacher, we would usually make sure these are people who have worked in schools. 2 of their referees are supposed to be teachers from schools that they've worked with, either a higher teacher or a teacher on the same level. So we also get to check and make sure that, oh, this is someone who has taught kids in the past, not just anybody. So you have to have teaching experience in a school that is registered with the government.
That's absolutely fantastic. To all our listeners, please remember to feel free to ask us any questions at any time. We are joined by Wazem over here from Nigeria, who's in educational technology. I think you're doing absolutely fantastic work, which is absolutely necessary, you know, because a lot of us don't have, like, you know, these platforms and opportunities, particularly in the African context. And one thing I would want to know, because, like, obviously, given the fact that we've been experiencing COVID right now, and it's an international pandemic, I just want to know, have you seen more learners using the platform? Have you seen an uptake in learners, you know, or uptake in connecting tutors with learners, given that, because here in South Africa, a lot of our schools have been closed. And then when they relax restrictions, then some of the schools will open and close and open. But in a nutshell, majority of learners have been at home, and there has been a need for the learners to continue with their educational syllabus or curriculum. So for prep class, how has COVID affected your business? With specific reference to a possible uptake, you know, in traffic for your company?
So yeah, we've definitely seen an uptake in the number of people requesting tutors, but rather than requesting physical tutors or requesting physical tutoring, people are getting this tutoring online now. So we've seen a significant boost in that. Also, a significant boost in the number of people who want free learning services, a significant boost in competition as well. So the corona pandemic has definitely given like a shock, a jolt to this space, both in terms of the number of learners, in terms of the number of people coming to the industry, and even in terms of the number of people who want to work with us as tutors. So in every ramification, there has been significant increase. Because of the economic ramifications of having a shutdown, we've also seen like the economy contract and people have less money and less people are going to work because they are locked down. So yes, much of the demand is also on, oh, we want free services, we want to learn for free, and we understand that there's a need for that. So we for instance, the WAEC exam is currently ongoing here in Nigeria. We had some free classes, free live online classes for students who are about to take that exam. So we've also been trying to do a bit of that. But in general, yes, there has been an uptick. What is most significant about that uptick is the fact that it's mostly geared towards online, on learning online at a rate that I don't think would have been possible without the coronavirus pandemic. If anyone had asked me for coronavirus, you know, like how many years do I think it would take for there to be so much of a rush for online learning in Nigeria, especially for kids in the demography that we serve, I would have said 4 to 8 years. And within 6 months, the pandemic has brought about those results. It's been interesting.
Yes, no, definitely. It's been absolutely, you know, quite mind-boggling. But like, you know, you spoke about kind of a couple of few things there, like in terms of the economy contracting, and basically people's purchasing power decreasing. So when you're talking about purchasing power decrease, and you're also talking about like more people looking for free educational services, to me as a child of the School of Economics, first lesson I learned in Ecos 101 is that there's nothing such as a free lunch. So maybe tell us about your revenue model. Like, how does it work? Like, how do you charge? Who do you charge? Are you charging the learners and then you take a facilitation fee and then you pay the tutors? How does the revenue model generally work? Number one, as the first question. And when people are looking for free services, like here in South Africa, our biggest challenge with online systems is that data is extremely expensive. So I don't know how much data is in Nigeria, or is it affordable? So if you can speak to your revenue model and the issue of data with regards to online digital platforms.
Okay, so we charge the parents, not the kids. There's no way the kids would have been able to afford it.
Yes, so
So
definitely.
yeah, so we charge the parents. For physical tutoring on average, a monthly session, like well, a month of tutoring, which would maybe say comprise of 12 classes in a month, would cost about $120. So yeah, the kids are not going to afford that. No
Yes.
way.
No, no.
It's the parents who get to pay. And then for physical tutoring, we pay the teachers a percentage, and then we earn a commission off of the relationship. For the online tutoring, we're using our own tutors. So they join the company as members of staff. They're not outsourced. We're using our own tutors, our own in-house team, and growing that in-house team to be able to serve more and more and more students.
Yeah.
To your second question, which is how expensive is data? So I just quickly did the conversion. So let's say on average, if I wanted to get 3 GB of data, that would last me for a week.
Yeah.
I would spend about 67 rands
Oh, wow.
here in Nigeria.
Okay.
And I think I remember that data is super expensive in South Africa
Sure,
because
that's
I bought
insanely
data
cheap.
once or twice last time I was in Durban.
Yeah.
And after that, I resolved to use my hotel Wi-Fi.
No, definitely. Like
Yeah,
here,
so
data has been extremely expensive. So at 67 Rand for 3 gigs, like that's absolutely, but it's only lasting you for 1 week, right?
yes, that would last you about a week. If you wanted 2 gig that would last you a month, you would probably pay, let's say, 75 Rand.
Oh, it's absolutely reasonable. Like for us, like prior to last year, like there was pickets from the general public and speaking to the Competition Commission regarding like data usage. Like prior to that, 1 gig, which would last you for a month, you'd be looking on average at your top tier networks, 150 Rand per gig. For a month, and then like your lower tier networks, which is kind of also a parastatal, so they have preferential pricing in terms of network towers. They charge you about 100 Rand per gig. So it's even cheaper than the cheapest provider we had. Quite recently, like, we've had quite a reduction in data costs like this year, where it's like now averaging around 90 to 100 Rand per gig for a month. So like it's still extremely reasonable, and I think that speaks to your business quite well, which is absolutely fantastic. I'd just like to remind our listeners, I see there's no questions that are coming up, but be that as it may, please do follow our newsletter at www.ettp.co.za and all our social media handles. You'll find us as well as Entrepreneurship to the Point, Instagram, LinkedIn, as well as Twitter. We're speaking to Wazam here in Nigeria, who is the owner and the founder of Prep Class, which is basically a facilitator, or what do you call it, a platform that connects like tutors as well as learners, and he's doing very well, like and we're excited to have him here. And he's a young entrepreneur. And speaking about being young, one of the things as a young entrepreneur that we found is that how do you build credibility? Like, I think some of the people who are listening, because we've spoken about Prep Class quite a lot, I just want to move the conversation now for you just telling us about your journey and what works as a young entrepreneur. And one of the things I think, which is kind of a difficult question for a lot of young people, is how do you build credibility in the market as a young entrepreneur?
Okay. So I'm going to assume that the reason why you want this credibility is because you want to sell your product, right? So
Yes,
that's going to
yes,
be my assumption.
yes.
And then following along with that assumption, the second point becomes that different services require different levels of credibility to sell. I don't need to be very credible to sell you a pen. It's a pen. It's going to cost you 10 rand.
Making me laugh.
Yeah, like I don't
Sure.
really need to. Yeah, but when I'm selling you
Yes.
stuff that is going to cost 1,000 rand, I kind
Yes.
of need to be credible. And
Yeah.
then if I ask you to give me like your retirement fund access, maybe 100K or something, yeah, I need to be extremely credible. So
Yes.
first, speaking to that, I think the first thing to consider is what kind of service are you trying to sell? Who are you trying to sell it to? What's your average price point? If I wanted to sell, say, myself as a mutual money fund, which means
Yeah.
people will be investing their money with me, I need to be extremely credible. I would probably be selling such a service to high net worth individuals, maybe businesses as well. They need to know me before I come to say, knock on their doors and ask them to buy from me, so those kind of things. So answering the question along those three tiers, if you're selling a low end, low price business, strictly B2C, you just need to meet your customer and tell them, look, this is what I'm selling, and they make a purchase. The truth is you just need to do marketing, mass marketing, online marketing, target the demographic of people you want to sell to and sell it to them. You really don't have to be too worried about your credibility. You probably want to worry more about your process of converting your leads into customers. If you're selling a mid-tier product, so mid-priced, let's say something anywhere around, I guess, 1,000 rand or 500 rand. I struggle with the conversions really in my head. But yes, if you're selling something around that price, you need to be a bit credible, but maybe not incredibly credible. If you're selling a physical product, the credibility of the product is more important than your personal credibility. And then the second question becomes, is this a product that the market is familiar with? Is this a product the market is not familiar with? If the product is one that the market is familiar with, easy peasy, you probably won't have too many problems. If it's a product or a brand that the market is not familiar with, again, mass marketing, this time not so much lead generation in this case, but you need to put the name of the brand or the product out there and what it does. And then in this case, having a product guarantee would be very, very important in boosting your credibility. Your credibility as an individual probably won't matter so much if it's a physical product. But if you're selling a service around that price point, your credibility as an individual, it starts to matter a little bit more. In which case I would say going for competitions, attending shows or going for events where, people of that niche and interest tend to gather, puts you and your service out there as a thought leader, a business leader, etc., etc. And of course, if it's a mid-price service, you probably want to have that in an industry where you've probably worked before. And so you're not just starting there for the first time as an entrepreneur, just jumping, straight in as that. It would help if you've actually gotten some experience working with a company before going into that particular industry for a mid-tier service. Because for mid-tier service as well, lead generation to client conversion can be a little bit harder because it's a bit more priced. And so it helps a lot to be able to reach out to people and say, okay, this is what I'm doing. And those people know people that they can talk to your service about. Yeah, like basically you're networked in the industry.
Yes.
It matters a lot.
Sure.
For high tier price services, I think you need to be very networked. My service is not a high tier priced service per se, so maybe a bit out of my depth, but from the little or much I know, you need to be very networked. You need to be a thought leader. If you're going to, for instance, open a money market, you need to be able to say, oh, I've worked here and mention some big company. You need to have a track record that speaks for you. or even preferably, can go before you and open doors for you. It matters a lot because nobody's going to hand over their $100,000 to somebody that they don't know. In fact, nobody's going to hand over their 100,000 rands or dollars to somebody that nobody else can vouch for.
Yes.
No, so if you're new, you need to have people vouching for you if you're running a very expensive service. So credibility matters, but not at the same level across doing business. And there are people who have very successful companies and nobody knows who they are.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
It depends on the product that you sell.
Yes, exactly, definitely. I really love how you answered the question. It's a question I usually ask like to our young entrepreneurs. You actually reminded me of my time when I was in consumer analytics, when you're talking about like different tiers, B2C, lead generation, pipeline, just basically mentioning customer relationship management. And I totally agree with you, like with regards to it being dependent on which tier you're in. But I think primarily with the issue of credibility, a lot of like young people are asking this question when it comes to financing, because the financing aspect speaks primarily to your credit record, your record as a human being, maybe like your accolades, because like, let's say I'm investing in a business, if I'm investing in Prep Class, the first thing I want to look at as an investor is who the management is. So once I know Wazam is someone who knows his products, he knows the market, he'll speak about price points, as you mentioned, in different tiers, and basically what is my return on investment? So the credibility question was really stemming from there, but I really love how you answered it. I'm really mindful of how much time we have here at Entrepreneurship to the Point. As our name says, we keep things to the point. So I'm going to ask you our last question. I've read, and maybe you probably read it as well, a lot of like, budding young people have read Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. In Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill speaks about his mastermind group. So the mastermind group being the people who are close within your network. And you spoke about networks in the past question. So in your mastermind group, who is the single most influential person who has helped you? Because like mentorship is a big thing, as young entrepreneurs. So who would you say has been, one of the most influential people in, honing your business acumen? And what advice would you give to young entrepreneurs with regards to mentorship?
Wow, that's a difficult question. So I'd say the who has changed over years, kind of depending on what my focus at the time was. Because fine, even when you're an entrepreneur and you're running a business, who you take inspiration from changes depending on just something as simple as, oh, you're focused on B2B versus you're focused on B2C. Those are literally two different businesses, even if you're offering both parties the same service. So I would say the people I take inspiration from has changed. But one of the things that has served me very well throughout the entire period is the fact that I have a network of friends who are also entrepreneurs, probably around the same stage as me, some of them higher, some of them lower, but same markets, also entrepreneurs going through the ups and downs of entrepreneurship alongside myself. And it really helps to keep you sane. Because like entrepreneurship can be like an insanity ride, and so you know that, oh, I'm experiencing this, but I'm not alone. This other person is there, and that other person is there. That has helped a lot. And while I'm a big advocate for people to have mentors, actually, so I started entrepreneurship almost off the bat, like a year after I finished school. So I had just 1 year of working experience. I think one of the things I've come to learn is one of the best people that can be a mentor to you is typically someone you met at the workplace while you were gathering work experience, who was your boss at work and saw you grow, saw you improve, gave you feedback on things you're not doing right, and helped you along the ladder. And maybe when you wanted to finally leave, the person was like, oh, have my blessings, so to speak. I think you do fantastic stuff. And then that person is always ready to come back to support you as much as he can. Because, when I first became an entrepreneur, I at some point I decided to make a concerted effort at actually getting a mentor. Like I went out there to get a mentor, and I chose someone. I chose someone, and I went to speak to him. But he said he literally refused. And basically, I came to understand it later on, and his point was he wasn't invested enough in my life to be my mentor. So the thing with mentoring is people always say, oh, choose a mentor, but it goes both ways. The mentor also chooses you. And usually that choosing happens more naturally when there was a pre-existing relationship. It can be a bit difficult if you just walk up to someone and say, be my mentor. You have to build the relationship, and it takes time. So I would say for those who, you once had a boss at work and you still communicate, that might be a very, very good person to be a mentor. For me, it's changed over time. Maybe people I've met at fellowships, people who we've done business with at different points in time, even some of our investors, I would say. So, yeah.
Absolutely fantastic.
You had a second question, but I don't remember what it was.
No. It was basically like with regards to you specifically, who has been the most significant person in providing guidance with regards to your business acumen.
All right. If I had to choose anyway, I would probably say Pule. Interestingly, he's a South African. Yeah. So he's been super, and not only like in the sense of providing guidance, but also just as someone who provides support, because like entrepreneurship is a wild ride, and so it helps to have people who understand that and appreciate it and can relate with it. So yeah, if I had
absolutely
to choose,
fantastic,
I would probably choose him.
I'm also glad that for sake of patriotism that it's a South African. But more importantly, that it's South Africa and Nigeria, which are the biggest economies in Africa. And, creating working relationships between these two economies is absolutely, absolutely important for the progression of the continent in general. So Wazam, that's been our time here today at Entrepreneurship to the Point. Just to close off, I'd like you to maybe let us know where we can find you, contact details, where we can find Prep Class if we want to find out more about your organization.
So Prep Class is on Instagram as Prep Class NG, same as Twitter, same as Facebook, Prep Class NG. You'll be able to find us on any of those platforms. My Instagram handle is I am Wizam. So yeah, you can find me there as well.
Thank you so much. We've been talking to I am Wizam from Prep Class, hailing all the way from Nigeria. My name is Azolam Zegandaba. Thank you for joining us at Entrepreneurship to the Point, a platform that informs, equips, and inspires. They call me the one with the effervescent personality. I hope I've been extremely instrumental in today's engagement. Those that really, really know me, they call me the joy of jazz. Please do join us next time at Entrepreneurship to the Point. And thank you for taking time to join us today. Thank you to all our listeners, and thank you, Wazam. Take care and all the best for your business.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure, and continue to enjoy the rest of your birthday.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much, man. Cheers.
Okay, have a great day. Yeah, bye.
Likewise. Bye.